If you told me 19-year-old Ryan, if you told 19-year-old Ryan back in 2019 that in 4 years' time I would be sitting here opening a live stream saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Celtic Football Club, Brendan Rodgers, I would have laughed at you. I would have said in your wildest dreams, I would never have believed you. But here we are today, ladies and gentlemen, on the 19th of June, 2023. Brendan Rodgers, welcome back to Celtic Football Club. Celtic have officially appointed I'm all over the place, I'm too excited. Brendan Rodgers as the new manager of Celtic Football Club on a 3-year contract. It's done, it's official. The club's statement has been published. We waited for that bit of news from the London Stock Exchange. We got that too. We've got everything that we need to confirm it. He is back. He is ready to go again. And in his words, let's get to work. That is the call, the rally from the manager. And it feels so good to say that we've got it done and dusted. It was a very easy one. It was a very quick one. And, you know, think about this time 2 weeks ago when when Ange Postecoglou left Celtic Football Club. We thought, right, what's next? Where do we go now? Where does Celtic turn? What is the next step? Well, I made it very clear from the get-go that I wanted Brendan Rodgers. Not everybody was on board at the time, but I think over the past few weeks, as the news has come closer and closer to being official, we've seen more and more people get on board with it, and now that's exactly what we all have to do. We need to rally behind the manager. We need to stand behind our leader as he leads us into battle once again, hopefully, for more and more trebles like last time. You know, he done it in spectacular fashion first season round, an invincible treble. The second season, another treble. And the third season, despite the manner in how he left us that cold February, he was on his way to another treble then as well. So a man who you could say is responsible for the treble that we won here at Celtic, he is back. Let's have a look at the club's statement then, shall we? We'll get onto that first before we get into all of your guys' thoughts and comments. And before we get into talk about all the other little details that come alongside it, the huge news as well, and we're going to touch on, I've seen people asking in the comments, John Kennedy, Harry Kewell, Gavin Strachan, and Stevie Woods, sorry, can't forget Stevie. They'll all be staying. They will all be remaining Celtic staff. No Tottenham Hotspur exits for any of them. John Kennedy will be Brendan Rodgers' number 2. That has been confirmed within this statement. So let's get on to looking at the statement, shall we? Let's see what the club have had to say. Celtic Football Club is delighted to announce that Brendan Rodgers has been appointed the club's new football manager on a 3-year contract. Brendan previously managed the club to phenomenal success, winning consecutive domestic trebles and in addition delivering the most famous of invincible seasons. In recent years, Brendan has led Leicester City to victory in the FA Cup for the first time in their history, also achieving 5th position in the English Premier League on 2 occasions. We are pleased to confirm that John Kennedy, who has served the club over many years in a playing and coaching capacity, will support Brendan as the club's assistant manager, along with first-team coaches Stevie Woods, Gavin Strachan and Harry Kewell, and B-team coaches Stephen McManus and Darren O'Day. So that was the opening of the club statement. We'll get into Brendan's comments. Thank you for the donation, Mary. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Get it in for Brendan. Brendan Rodgers has spoken. We've yet to, hear much. And a lot of people wanted to say, talking about his departure and talking about his first spell. And I imagine we'll get on to that when the press conferences and such begin. And I imagine we're going to get a video from the manager maybe at some point today as he comes back up the road and gets ready to start work up here again. But he has spoken in the statement. Let's go through Brendan's comments. He said, I'm very delighted, really delighted I should say, to return to Celtic, and I'm hugely excited by this great opportunity. When I was given the privilege of being asked to join the club again, it was a very simple decision for me and my family. We have enjoyed some great times at Celtic before, and this will be my goal again, to deliver good football, ensure we have a team that we all love to watch, and ultimately bring more success to our fans. Ange has done some brilliant work across the last 2 years, and I will be doing all I can to maintain Celtic's momentum as we face into all of our domestic and European challenges. We have a hugely impressive and talented group of players and staff at the club, I am really looking forward to meeting up with them and getting straight down to work. I wanted John, of course, John Kennedy, to be with me as we move forward. He's a very talented coach, someone I know well and respect. He will be very important to myself and our players. The club is in fantastic condition at all levels, and I would like to thank the board for putting their trust in me to take the team forward. We will work very closely together as we strive to bring that success to our supporters. And finally, the closing statement, the closing line from Brendan Rodgers. Let's get to work. Thank you, John, as well, for the donation. So let's get to work. There's also comments there from Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell. You can go and look at the statement yourself. Just the standard stuff that you would expect from the announcing of a new manager. Saying how excited we are. We've got strategy in place. You can read on to see that from Michael Nicholson. I've spoken to Brendan. We've discussed the club's strategy and objectives with him. I can see the passion he has for taking the club forward positively and building on what we have achieved. And then obviously that's touched upon with Peter Lawwell, who says he's excited to work with him to drive the club forward, to drive Celtic forward. So we're looking, and a lot of talk about Europe throughout this. Dermot Desmond as well, he speaks in it. He kind of closes off the statement, but a lot of talk of Europe, a lot of talk of domestic success. I think the ceiling now has to be the highest it's ever been in years. Thank you as well to Bailey. Thank you very much. I think this is where the ceiling has to be the highest here that it's been in years at Celtic Football Club. I think this is where we now need to properly drive forward with an extreme amount of ambition. To hire Brendan Rodgers back, number one, is a gamble. A safe gamble when you talk about football and results, but it's a gamble in the sense that a lot of fans didn't want this. A lot of fans didn't want to go back to someone who left the club in the manner that he did. It was a gamble, but it's the kind of gamble which is I think, low risk, high reward. And I also think it's one that is upper echelon, which is elite club mentality. Brendan Rodgers is one of the best coaches in Britain. There is no doubt about it. His success at Celtic, then going on to his success at Leicester, people will want to bring up him getting sacked and all the rest of it. Listen, there's circumstances that come into play there. He's one of the top coaches. This is someone who could have, stood by a little bit longer, waited, and he would have been getting a top half Premier League job. There's no doubt about it. He could have been there at one of those kind of 7th, 8th, 9th place clubs in the Premier League if he wanted to. Another Leicester City. He could have got a job like that if he just sat back and waited. It was someone who was getting spoke about with top 4 jobs only a couple of years ago. But he's not. He's came into Celtic. For us, that is a top tier move, an elite club move, massive move. And this is where I'm saying, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying, the ceiling's got to be the highest now that it's been in a long time. The board need to back this vision, and we need to fully go with it now. A 3-year contract has been given to Brendan Rodgers. He's been given our best tools and utilities in regards to staff and players. We have retained a very successful squad. Right now, no one has left, and he's got a very good group of players to work with and a very good coaching team to work with. We need to realise this. We need to back this vision. We need to go forward with it. We could do magic things if we just do something a little bit better than what we done the last time. As long as we don't let what happened last time happen again. Back the manager, back Brendan Rodgers. And there's been a lot of photos being thrown around today. A lot of photos from banners of the past at Celtic Park. That very famous one that was shown after Rodgers left about trading in immortality for mediocrity. Interestingly enough, not long before that, there was a banner which read along the lines of back Rodgers or lose him. And that is the sentiment I will echo today on this stream. Back Rodgers or lose him. We have given him a 3-year contract. There is a lot he can do in these 3 years. Should we back him properly, we give him the tools that he needs to succeed, and we move forward more dominant than ever. And who knows, maybe he'll stay beyond 3 years. A few donations to run through before we move on. I see people asking, where's McGinley? We'll be in the studio tonight. There will be a Celtic Refunder recorded this evening. He's at work just now. Of course, he's got his dual commitments at this point. So, a few donations to run through very quickly. Then we'll continue talking about the appointment of Brendan Rodgers on this sunny Monday. It's not really that sunny. It's a bit cloudy, actually. But David, for the £5, thank you, saying happy and relieved that Brendan Rodgers is back, a proven winner, and got the best out of players who arrived under Ronnie Dyler. Also, hope you had a nice holiday, Ryan. Thank you, David. I did, and I have come back to the best news that I could ask for in the return of Brendan Rodgers. But absolutely, someone who, man-to-man management, it's absolutely fantastic. Top tier manager. I'm excited. Sean Maher, he says, a big move from the board. I think Rodgers will be able to persuade some want-away players to stay. Best coach we could realistically get. Absolutely. I think that if you're looking at managers who could have persuaded some of these guys that, you know, we're talking, and I still expect to see some leave, right? But let's just throw some names out there very quickly. Rio Hatate, Kyogo, Matt O'Reilly, Carter Vickers, players that will all be linked with big moves away from Celtic over the next year. Brendan Rodgers is the best possible manager I think you could get to get him to stay. It's an upper echelon manager. It's a top tier manager. It's a manager that players will be very excited to work with. So I think you're right, Sean. Thank you for the $5 And finally, Lisbon Lad, 67 says, sing Brendan's song, Ryan. Christ, I don't want to send you all back to your bed on this Monday afternoon, so we maybe give the singing a miss, but trust me, I'll be singing it loud and proud around the stadium as we get back into Celtic Park and as we welcome Brendan Rodgers back to Celtic Park. So very quick reminder, Brendan Rodgers appointed the new manager on a 3-year contract. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Right, I see another donation and it's from Max, so thank you for the £5. And I'm going to get this out the way because I don't want to sit and talk about this all stream because, to be honest, I don't care. Me personally, I'm delighted to welcome back Brendan Rodgers. I'm very excited for the future of Celtic Football Club, and I think that we've made the best possible appointment that we could. But I keep seeing it getting thrown around in the comments. I can't ignore it all day, especially when I'm getting donations thrown in for it as well. So thank you, Mac. Obviously, the North Curve and the Green Brigade put up that photo earlier on as soon as the announcement was made of the traded in immortality for mediocrity. And it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Some people agree with it. I'm going to be very boring in my response and say, once again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you don't want to welcome back Brendan Rodgers, I can't force you to welcome him back. I think everybody's, very much entitled to their own opinion. And the one thing that I don't want, and this is the part that I will speak on, I don't want any groups or anything like that to try and drive a wedge between the fans. I think that if you have that opinion, you're well more than entitled to it. But one thing I just can't be bothered with is going back to Celtic Park and there being a split in the crowd, being an audible disdain for the manager. I think now is a responsible time to just get behind him. And it's done. He's here. Some are more happy than others. For me, I'm delighted. For some, you might not be as delighted. But one thing I think we should all do is get behind him, because at the end of the day, he's the Celtic manager and he's here to win trophies. Because if you don't get behind him now, then you're going to look very, and this isn't directed towards anybody, this is just a general point. If you don't get behind him now, you're going to look very fucking hypocritical when it comes to May next year and Brendan Rodgers is celebrating another treble. And you're celebrating that. So you may as well just get behind him now. Even if it hurts, even if it's difficult. And I think that you can keep your opinion, but I think one thing we should always do is get behind whoever's the man in the job. And that's Brendan Rodgers. So, we'll just need to wait and see what happens. I think that the stadium will be interesting in the first couple of games. I'm not anxious, but I'm very interested to see what it'll be like. Obviously, with the Green Brigade being the ones who typically dictate the atmosphere in Celtic Park, how will it be received when Brendan Rodgers is first introduced, when the team first take the park? At the end of the day, we've got to remember that Celtic Football Club are there to support. And we should be cheering on our players and we should be getting behind them every game. And I don't care who's in the dugout. So that's my final opinion towards it all. But once again, I think everybody is well entitled to an opinion. Jackie, thank you very much for the £5. He said, what convinced... Jackie could be a male or a female, actually. So Jackie, thank you. I don't know, it could be your Auntie Jackie, could be your Uncle Jackie. What convinced John Kennedy to stay? Apparently was offered fortunes to follow Ange to Spurs, thinking he's been promised to be Brendan Rodgers' successor. I wouldn't read into it too much right now. I don't think I would go as far into saying you know, that Jackie McNamara, what am I saying? Jackie, it's because I'm looking at Jackie on the screen. Sorry, Jackie, now I'm calling you Jackie McNamara. I think that to read into it too much would be naive and would be a bit far-fetched. I think that ultimately he's probably just spoke to Brendan. Brendan's probably just outlined how much he wants him to be here as part of the project. On top of that, yeah, he's probably been offered an upgrade in wages by the board. He's probably got a new contract and a bit more money in the bank. At the end of the day, we'll never know how much money he was actually going to get offered at Tottenham Hotspur, and I don't think we'll ever really know how much money he's getting from Celtic either. But what I will say is, I'd imagine that after the work that he's put in over the past 10, 15 years here at Celtic Football Club, both in a playing and coaching capacity, he deserves everything. John Kennedy has been a fantastic servant to Celtic Football Club, and I think that he deserves that kind of respect and reward to be given a higher contract and kept here as Brendan's number 2. He could have went to Spurs. Obviously, Brendan's convinced him. Will we hear how he's convinced him? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe at the press conferences, there'll be a fan media press conference. Maybe I'll try and ask the question. How did he manage to convince John to stay? Maybe it wasn't as simple as what the media was making out. Maybe John Kennedy wasn't that fussed and headed off to Tottenham Hotspur. Maybe it was exaggerated in the MSM. Who knows? Once again, it's one of those ones that's very hard, very difficult to actually read into when you don't know all the exact details. Thank you to the Davies Concert Archive for the £5, and thank you to Ian for £5, who says, glad to see Rodgers back, Ryan. Hope he improves our European record. Listened to Ryan McGinley on another podcast earlier. He is also pleased. Yep, as far as I'm aware, Ryan is pleased. I'll be with Ryan tonight, but thank you to both Ian and the Davies Concert Archive for your donations. Very appreciated. And also on that note, the European football. I think that's the part that we need to get most excited about. And hopefully not excited to the point where we're going to be disappointed. But I think if the board certainly back Brendan Rodgers, it's another guy who comes in and has an amazing opportunity to take us far in Europe. Look, it got Leicester to a European semi-final. And don't start bringing out your Conference League nonsense and all that. I couldn't care if Celtic were in the semi-final of the Champions League or the Conference League. I want a European run. I don't care what competition it's in. I would happily take a run to the Conference League semi-finals. You know that? I would kill for it, in fact. Watching West Ham win it the other night, or the other week there, was devastating. Because I'm like, why can Celtic not be doing this? Yes, there's distances and there's gulfs between the spending that Leicester and West Ham do to Celtic. But Brendan Rodgers being backed is the kind of man who can definitely take us there. And I couldn't care if it was a Conference League or not. I want that feeling. I want that kind of, just that illusion of doing well in Europe. I want that as a Celtic fan. I've never had it in my life. You know, in my lifetime, you know, the most we've done is beat Barcelona, beat Manchester United. You know, we've had some big results. But ultimately, in terms of distance, we've done nothing. I was too young to remember Seville. I was too young to remember our last fucking knockout stage win. You know what I mean? So I really, really want us to do something good in Europe this season. Thank you to Daniel, £2. He is a beautiful human being. But yeah, wow. Crazy, huge news this morning. Just before midday, I got it done just before the afternoon struck. Brendan Rodgers back. Let's get sort of 5-10 minutes with you guys. Now, one thing I must say is I'm actually quite happy that maybe we can get back into making videos. I love these live streams, and I will keep them coming when news breaks, and they're good. But God, I've been doing so many of them. I miss the old school videos. You know what I mean? I miss the editing. I miss the recording, and having, you know, a little bit of room for error. Saying that, not much error with me. I'm a pro. Big-headed of myself. You know, if Rodgers an egomaniac, I may as well be an egomaniac. Right, let's get to your questions. Fuck this. Right, when's our next competitive game? Is it August? Yeah, I think, well, the schedule, the Premier League, or the Premiership, sorry, fixture list will be announced on June 30th. So in about 10 days' time, we will get the fixture list out for the start of the campaign, and I imagine it'll be the first weekend of August. I think it'll be around then, so we'll hear. We'll get some news in about that over the next 10 days or so and see the start that Rodgers has given. Of course, we'll be at Ibrox first. Derby games. It's Ibrox first this year round, so that's going to be massive for Rodgers. Massive for Rodgers, massive for the team, and massive for whatever we think moving forward. So, yeah. Thank you to Svolst with the £5. I will say, I'm really happy that we have Brendan Rodgers back. However, what makes me nervous is that it might become a sameish Lennon fans versus board vibe. I don't want to speak too soon, and I don't want to give guarantees that I obviously can't guarantee. Like, I'm not exactly a psychic. I can't see into the future. If he wins that first game at Ibrox especially, everybody will be chuffed. Everybody will be happy. So, I don't think that there's going to be too much of a worry for it to be similar to the way it was back in 2020, 2021 when everybody was going for Lennon's throw. I really don't see it ending up like that unless of course we don't do so well. If we start losing games, if we start dropping points, then absolutely there will become a moment where maybe fans will start to get on his back a little bit more. But I think that this time next week, that'll be gone. Genuinely, I would go say, I think this time next week, everybody will be like, okay, well, it's time to make signings, it's time to move on, and we'll start remembering that it's Celtic Football Club we're here to support, and we're all here for the same thing. What improvements to the team do you see Brendan Rodgers making? We're going to have many videos covering this sort of thing over the next few weeks, I would imagine. But what I will say is about the improvements to the team. There's areas that Brendan Rodgers will look to improve. There's also areas that Brendan Rodgers might be very happy with that, he might get more out of players who are already here. You look at the likes of someone like Matt O'Reilly. I think he could be taken to the next level with Brendan Rodgers. I think you can look around this team and look at other players, and Brendan Rodgers can do so much more with them. So it's going to be difficult to put our fingers on exactly what areas I think Brendan Rodgers is going to come in and try and improve straight away. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, I suppose. £50 and 20-minute Ryan. Think you might be doing better than Brendan. Christ, I wish we've not got the exact details yet on Brendan's contract in terms of money and wages. I'm just scrolling through Twitter to see if anything breaks for you guys, but and obviously the record and such are running with the whole Green Brigade thing already. But I wonder how much money is actually getting paid this time round. We'll have to wait and see. We've got David, who's a Rangers fan, who's in. He says, Ryan, from the Rangers fan perspective, this goes well, you could make real inroads in Europe. My thinking is, though, if it goes wrong, it could go nuclear really quickly. Massive gamble, in my opinion. Football is nothing without gambles. Ange Postecoglou was a massive gamble. Now, you could say Rodgers is a massive gamble, but I think, once again, I'll repeat it, I think it's low risk, high reward, because he's a winner. The man knows how to win. We've got Kaiser in, who says Brendan will hit the ground at full sprint. The improvement he can make to the players we have will be staggering, and we will not be lowballed by bids from Prem teams as he knows the market. Hatate is the one. A good point from Kaiser there about, obviously going in full sprint here. Hopefully he does. I hope we just go in straight away, pick up from where we've left off. And yeah, we could do some very exciting things. There's so many exciting possibilities with Rodgers being back in charge here. And I think that, I spoke about this. If you remember, take your mind back to 12 days ago. It was a day later from Ange Postecoglou being let go. And there's no he's getting made doing this there. The day after Ange was moved on to Spurs, and we had to start our recruitment. I made a video on the channel and I says why I think Brendan Rodgers should be the next Celtic manager. It was my pick from the get-go. And one of the reasons that I was very vocal about in that video, and I'll be vocal about again now, he's took his stock up another level. He was already a massive pull in this league when he was here the first time round. But he's went away. He's finished 5th twice in the Premier League. He's won an FA Cup. He's won a Community Shield. He's took them to a European semi-final. His stock's even higher now. His pool's even bigger. People want to work with Brendan Rodgers. People want to be with Brendan Rodgers in a playing and coaching capacity. So it's going to be very exciting to see what happens in regards to, recruitment and improvements and this, that, and the next thing. It is going to be fascinating, and I, for one, cannot wait for it. Excited. Brendan back, says Alistair. Yep. Got to love it. Let's see. Well, do you think... Yeah, we spoke about this in last night's stream. So, Lubo asking, do you think you'll look into the Asian market like Ange did? And yeah, I don't think just because Ange is gone and it's Brendan in now, that doesn't end with Ange. I keep repeating this same point, and I feel like I'm talking to myself when I say it. But the guys that worked with Ange are still here. The coaches, the recruitment, no one else is left bar Ange, as far as we all know anyway. And that includes the likes of Mark Lawwell, all these other scouts they've brought in. There's still going to be plenty of work done in all these markets, and it doesn't end with Ange. It keeps going, and I think Brendan Rodgers will be excited to get interested in that and get invested in it. There's so much work that he can do in there that he's not done before. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Of course, we're all waiting for the announcement or the potential announcement of Odin Holmes, Thiago Holmes, isn't it? Who's been linked very strongly with Celtic. He could be Brendan's first signing. He was apparently going to be signed nonetheless if it was Brendan or not. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. Dembele's a free agent. Like, listen, I know his top's still hanging up behind me, but I don't think he'll be back anytime soon. I wish, Tiernan. I really wish. It's a dream of mine, in fact. Bury the hatchet with Rodgers, of course, but I just don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. I'm very excited for the first press conference. I wonder when we'll get all of that. I wonder when we're going to hear Brendan actually speak to us for the first time. I know he spoke in the statement, but like actually, verbal communication. I want to see a video. I want to hear a press conference. Hopefully they announce a fan media one very soon. I mean, I wonder here, just very quickly on stream, just check my emails. Anything out yet? Nah, nothing yet. Just in case there was a wee email. Just a wee email saying, press conference. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Wow. So let's get one last recap before I wrap it up for this part of today's content. We will be recording a podcast later on. Keep an eye on the podcast Twitter, ladies and gents. But Brendan Rodgers has been appointed the new Celtic manager on a 3-year contract. He will be staying or coming in alongside the remaining John Kennedy, Gavin Strachan, Stevie Woods, and Harry Kewell. Wow. Huge news today, ladies and gentlemen. Huge news. I am so excited. Let's all get behind the manager. And a lot of content to come in the next couple of weeks. But there is your breaking news for now. We might be back on the channel later. Depends how quick I get it. If I get the podcast recorded tonight, who would prefer it uploaded tonight or tomorrow morning? I don't know. Aye, we'll wait and see. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. You heard us calling in the night, Brendan. Cheerio, ladies and gents. Ta-ra.